Hey guys, it's Faye from Soularflow and I am back with another video. Today's topic is Ask Me Anything. It's your guys' questions and my channeled answers. So if this sounds like an interesting video to you, please stick around, and if not, I will catch you at another video. So a little bit of housekeeping before we dive into it. First and foremost, I just want to say a big thank you. You guys came in big time with the fantastic topics. And if for any reason I do not answer a question that you have asked, it's either because the information that came in, there was so much of it that it's going to get its own video, such as with Gabby Petito and OJ Simpson. Or it could also just be that when I was kind of like relaxing my mind and allowing it to go into any one particular topic that was recommended, my mind didn't go to those particular topics this time. It's not to say that I'm not going to look into it in the future. It's just to say that it's not for this particular video. But you guys have delivered really, really big time. And I'm actually even just going to show you the amount of channeled information that came in for this, because I'm going to be looking down at my notes. There's a ton of really, really interesting info in here. So first of all, I'm going to do timestamps down below. You can go check out the timestamps. You can hop around if you want to, but there is a ton. So first of all, just to give you an idea, all these pages were channeled from last week when I asked for the topic of Ask Me Anything. So you guys really came through. So yeah, I'm gonna be looking at my notes. But also, don't worry if I'm not answering it here. I actually do, as I have said, have a running list of topics that you guys are requesting here as well as here. So I'm on top of it, promise you guys. I think you know from the fact that I'm always answering your questions on YouTube means that I'm very much engaged and committed. So I promise I'll get to your questions, okay? So with that in mind, yes, let's dive in. I will be looking down at my notes. Okay, so the first question was regarding a performer by the name of Drake. What came in for me for Drake is that he was sold into the club when he was very young. He resents it, but he can also admit that while he resents being owned, that being owned has come with a certain number of perks, such as the lifestyle that he gets to live and the way that he gets to live his life. He likes that, he can appreciate that, he can enjoy it, but he completely resents being owned. Because part of what it means to be owned is that everything we see in relation to Drake, so what his image is, the music that he performs, the way in which he performs, they are not authentic and genuine to him. That is all what is being put out there to either attract certain people or to resonate with certain people. It's not a reflection of who he genuinely is on the inside. Okay, so I hope that answers your very, very brief question about Drake. All right, next I have Aaliyah. Now, Aaliyah, this was interesting. So what came in for me was two very, very specific words. Aaliyah was a convenient sacrifice. And the reason she was a convenient sacrifice is for the following. First of all, she knew too much. She was married. So here's who Aaliyah was. Aaliyah was a young performer who died in a helicopter crash, I believe somewhere in the 90s. And also for anyone who's not familiar, Aaliyah was married to R. Kelly. I think, if memory serves correct, and I think this is like what I saw in an R. Kelly documentary, crazy enough, she married him when she was 15. Now, what was shown to me in regards to Aaliyah is a certain level of disappointment with the grown-ups that were around her. Because she very much felt like the grown-ups or the guardians that she was in their care of were seduced by the kind of lifestyle that she would have, and therefore the kind of lifestyle that they would have if she was sold. So she was very much sold to R. Kelly. There was some sort of a contractual obligation between the two of them that they were going to be together for a certain period of time. And then at the end of that period of time, If they wanted to stay together, they could. If they didn't, they could go their separate ways. She desperately wanted to get out of there. She did not at all enjoy her time being with R. Kelly. Here's why. R. Kelly had what was the exact word that came in? Rabid sexual appetite. So it was not enough for him to have one cute, pretty little plaything, because that's very much the way he saw her. He needed to have multiple pretty little playthings. So in addition to having Aaliyah as his wife, he also had any number of other women that were tools to him. So he is not somebody that had, first of all, a respect or empathy for women. They were literally, like, imagine if somebody has a game console and they need different joysticks for different games, that's the way that he looked at women. This is, I'm playing, I don't even know games, but I'm playing Mario and I need to have this kind of joystick for Mario, and I'm playing, I don't know, some baseball game on my console, I need to have a joystick for my baseball game. That's the way in which he viewed women. This is my woman for this thing, this is my woman for this thing. Neat, orderly, everything in its place. In addition to his rabid sexual appetite, he also loved putting women in uncomfortable situations. So he loved to make them squirm. He loved to direct them to do certain things that they were not comfortable with, because he liked the power and control that he had over them. So definitely nobody with any sense of empathy. They were all tools for his enjoyment and his pleasure. Now, so yes, Aaliyah very much hated their time together and very much was disappointed in the grown-ups in her life that were seduced by this kind of lifestyle that they thought she was going to have and that therefore they were going to have. Now, she knew too much. She was with him at any number of years and knew too much because of it. Now, she was not a stupid girl, and she knew because she knew too much, she had to keep her mouth shut, which she did. She kept her head down, she kept her mouth shut, she kept her eye on the prize. She was moving in the direction of what she wanted and what her goals and what her dreams actually were. And she was floored, absolutely stunned when her helicopter went down, because she thought she was very much doing what she needed to. But whereas R. Kelly did not have any empathy for other people, she did. She was not even so much devastated by the helicopter going down and by her demise, but it was more for the other innocent souls that were on board with her, and that this was going to have a huge impact on their families as well. So she was very much an opposite of R. Kelly, very much an empathic soul. Now, so why was she taken out? This is what was shown to me. So first of all, she was actually not meant to be a star. She was meant to be more of like a supporting kind of character in the music industry. But due to the fact that she was so beautiful, and due to the fact that I think even the listeners they could feel her empathic traits and her empathic qualities through her music, that people really were invested in her, and because of that, they were actually driving her success where it was not really guaranteed, or it wasn't supposed to have been guaranteed. She did not go into the industry having to make a sacrifice on her part. How she got into the industry was through marrying R. Kelly. And he is a much bigger player in the entire music industry as well. Now, so what was happening though, and it wasn't shown to me who this person is. Maybe you can actually pick up on that based on what I'm going to share of what was shown to me. But it wasn't shown to me who exactly this person was. But basically, what happened was, she was, again, supposed to be a co-star, but she was taking attention away from someone else who was not happy about it. Hold on. There we go. I just realized I'm like very off to the side. Anyway, she was taking attention away from someone who was not happy about it. Now, this person was not as pretty as she was, and they were very threatened by Aaliyah's beauty. They were also very threatened by the fact that Aaliyah was really starting to make waves in the music industry. So when this person wanted to really start to climb up the ranks of the music industry, and it came time for them to join the club in one way or another, they actually suggested Aaliyah as their point of sacrifice. And they chose Aaliyah, again, because they were threatened by her beauty. Now, for those that were in the industry and that were on top of this, again, she was a convenience. They were happy for this to happen because they could see the long-term ramifications of how she could end up being a liability because of her affiliation and association with R. Kelly. So they acquiesced, but they did not actually take the helicopter down. What was shown to me was the way in which the helicopter came down was through this other starlet who had volunteered Aaliyah to be the sacrifice. There was voodoo, witchcraft, and dark magic involved. And another interesting thing that was shown to me was that, or what's ironic, is that this woman's career never took off to the extent that she was hoping. So she had some idea in her head, I'm going to sacrifice Aaliyah and I'm going to explode. It's not to say that this woman did not have success. She did. It's just not to the extent that she had perhaps imagined or envisioned it would be. This was also done very much by design, which is that she was held back by those above her for their own nefarious reasons and purposes, which was that they took a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction in this other woman, lowering herself energetically to where she was willing to sacrifice another human soul to break into the industry, but whereby they would not actually even allow her to rise through the ranks. So I thought that was interesting and notable. Okay, let's move on from there. Next, we had a question about Anna Nicole Smith. Now, Anna Nicole Smith, very, very beautiful woman. For anyone who's not familiar, she first came to fame by being a guest model. So she was kind of like the modern day blonde bombshell. Beautiful, beautiful woman. Now, interesting, juxtaposed to her physical beauty was actually the fact that Anna Nicole Smith had self-worth issues. And the reason that she had self-worth issues was because she would literally be in a relationship where she was told to shut up. Nobody cares what you have to say, Anna. Just shut the fuck up, Anna. Just sit there and be beautiful. So because she was in these kinds of relationships, that's going to first of all indicate that she had self-worth issues where she would allow herself to be talked to that way and allow herself to be in a relationship that way. But that also would further create this kind of negative self-talk that she would negative self-talk that she would then begin to talk to herself in that same kind of a way. And that would compound the self-worth issues that she had. So she started to actually believe that her value was connected solely to her physical beauty. Now, she was realistic. She didn't think that she was some great philosophical thinker of her time, but she very much understood that there was more that she could do. But she liked the fame and she liked the attention because it was kind of like gratifying and it was kind of fulfilling. She is getting all of this attention for being a very, very beautiful woman. But she had this aura of sadness around her when I connected to her energy. She was always so sad and even I would say depressed because she always wanted to do more, but she never felt like she could do more. She kind of felt like she was pigeonholed into this role of just being a beautiful woman and nothing more. And also because she had these self-worth issues, that may also illuminate why she actually married a much older man. So she married a man who I believe was like 89, and I forgot how young she was at that time. But she married this much older man because she, in her mind, believed that the older and more successful a man was, the more he was entitled, very, very intentional word that came in, entitled to having a younger, beautiful trophy wife. That was the way in which she viewed herself. She's just a young, beautiful trophy wife, nothing more. Now, she was realistic. She knew her limitations, but there was always this level of sadness around her. And she had intense periods of deep, deep sadness. And those periods of deep sadness would actually lead her to overeat. So it was a way of actually like pushing and suppressing the feelings down. Like, I'm just not feeling good about myself. I'm not happy right now. It's making me feel uncomfortable. These feelings literally were like coming up. So the way in which she would suppress them was to eat, to push them down. It became a vicious cycle. So she's feeling these deep, intense emotions that didn't feel good for her, that she didn't want to confront. She would eat, she would overeat to push them down. And then after she would overeat, she wouldn't feel good about herself. She'd look in the mirror, she'd be like, oh, I'm getting so fat. I used to be so skinny. That would then further lead to these uncomfortable feelings inside of her. She would continue to overeat to push them down. Very, very vicious cycle that she got herself caught into. Now, I'm also going to say that towards the end of her life, she was being drugged. And she was being drugged by, I forgot his name. He's the dark-haired guy that was her lawyer, or her lawyer and her lover, or her lawyer-lover friend, whatever they were to each other. But he was actually drugging her. And the reason that he was drugging her was he just could not deal with her periods of depression. So he was drugging her to shut the fuck up. So again, very unhealthy relationship, very, very in line with the energetic blueprint of the other relationships that she would find herself in. Except here, it wasn't somebody telling her to shut the fuck up and just be pretty, Anna. This was someone who was actually physically drugging her to shut her the fuck up. So she, yes, he was drugging her so he wouldn't have to deal with her depression. And she was energetically miserable. She knew that she was being drugged. This was after a couple of months, I think a couple of months prior, her son had actually passed. She was deeply, deeply depressed, understandably so. And she just energetically gave up and she wanted to die. So I hope that that answers your question about Anna Nicole Smith. Next, we're going to move on to a case that actually happened in New Zealand. This is a case with a young woman by the name of Grace Millane. Now, Grace Millane was a young woman who had just finished her degree in England, and she was on a solo holiday in New Zealand. And I believe this was like 2018 or 2019, so pretty recently, just a couple of years ago. And what actually happened while she was away on holiday was she had gone on a date with a young man by the name of Jesse Kemperson, and he's now, I believe, on trial for her murder. So we're gonna break this all down and talk about like what happened there, how these two got together, and what led to him killing her. Even though he hasn't had his day in court, he hasn't had his trial, I'm still he's on trial. I'm still gonna talk about the energetic things that are going on and why I do believe he killed her, okay? So Grace had a weird attraction to Jesse. She was equal parts drawn to and repulsed by him. There was energetically something a little bit different about him that actually got her attention. He was rough around the edges. He was like masculine, and he was very different from the other kind of people that she would associate with. And these two came to literally hook up through, I believe, Tinder. So she's on holiday, she goes on the Tinder app, and she goes on a date with him. They get together, they go back to his place, they have sex, and he kills her. Okay. So how did this all go down? So he had an edge, a masculine edge that made him different. She was fascinated by this weird energy that she was picking up on. Now, here's the thing, because she was also picking up on this weird energy, that frankly made her uncomfortable, she was consuming a lot of alcohol that night. Now, what happens when you consume a lot of alcohol? It's going to numb your senses, okay? So equal parts fascination and repulsion that Grace felt towards Jesse. But she wanted to have this sexual experience with him, with this bad boy, okay? She wanted to try on being someone else for the night. Now, he was completely in his energetic blueprint, and I actually wonder if this is what she had picked up on, but he was completely overrun with dark entities. And the reason that he was completely overrun with dark entities is, anyone care to guess? Because not only was he watching porn, and a lot of it, he was watching extremely violent and abusive porn. And it was actually even shown to me that as he's watching this porn, these dark entities were like climbing through the screen and attaching themselves onto him. So if you can imagine, someone's going out into it's a zombie movie. It's a zombie apocalypse. Someone's going out to get supplies, but they don't want to get bitten by the zombie. So they're putting on a football helmet. They're wrapping newspapers around their arms. They're wrapping boxes around their legs. So that way, if they're attacked, the zombie can't penetrate their defenses and bite their skin. This is what was going on with Jesse, except he wasn't padding himself for a zombie attack. He was overrun in the same way with dark entities. So it was shown to me there was a big dark entity like piggybacking on him. There was one on his head. There was one attached to each arm and attached to each leg. They were climbing through the screen of the porn that he was watching and attaching themselves to him. Now, let's talk a little bit about why he watched this kind of porn. Okay? So first of all, he felt powerless in his life. So this kind of porn gave him the illusion of power. It's men dominating women. And even though it wasn't him that's doing it, watching it gave him this illusion of having this same sense of power. This came from the fact that he absolutely despised his mother. So porn very much fitted this narrow view in which he wanted to see women, subservient to men. And he wanted to see women this way because he felt powerless in his own life. Now, he didn't have a lot of self-awareness, wasn't particularly motivated, and he was a bit of a floater. Oh, whatever, I'm at work, I'll come home, I'll watch some porn, I'll drink beer, I'll float from this, I'll float to that. No level of introspection, no great motivation or goals that he had in his life. He was a floater, okay? So he was absolutely floored that this pretty tourist was expressing any level of interest in him, especially because she was so far superior to him. So while he liked the fact that she liked him, what he really wanted to do was show his superiority and dominance over her. She triggered in him a response in this recognizing what a low vibration person he was, and that made him want to dominate her. And the way that that was expressed was in their sexual encounter where he was choking her. Now, I'm not going to say that this was like murder in the first degree, right? It's not like they got together and that night he was thinking about having sex with her and killing her. This was more an accidental murder where he took it too far. And the reason he took it too far is because she triggered him to recognize his inferior qualities and in him wanting to dominate her energetically because of that. So that is what's going on with them. Now, he did not feel remorse after she was dead. In fact, he didn't feel much of anything other than the recognition that this was a nuisance that he was going to have to clean up. He's actually very content in prison because he doesn't have to do much and he can float, which is all he ever wanted to do anyway. It's a controlled environment. People are telling him when to wake up, when to eat, when he has an hour of time outside, whatever it is. So it very, very much is in energetic alignment with who he is and what he wanted out of life. And if you're interested in this, you can actually go online and you can read up more on it, like how they had actually apprehended him. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. They have him on tons of like video, going to buy like suitcases, like taking a suitcase in the lift, going to rent a car, like all of these crazy things that he did that basically got himself into this little bit of a bind. Now, even though this wasn't actually asked, this came to me while I was looking into this Grace Millane and Jesse Kemperson case that I thought tied in and I wanted to look into, which is porn. And it's something that I've kind of talked about before, which is it's a very low, dark, dense energy. And I thought, hey, let's explore this. Let's do a deep dive and look into porn a little bit more. And what came through is that porn is demonic. It's demonic because, and yes, here I'm going to read a little bit more. It's demonic because it takes the sacred energetic exchange between two souls and it strips away the divinity in it, and it breaks it down to just this base, cheap, tawdry, common activity. So if you want to look at it this way, sex was originally designed to be the vehicle, so to say, in which two energies could exchange. And they have taken the exchange out of it and just made it about the vehicle itself. So imagine you're going to meet up with a friend, you have to get in a car to get there, and then once you pick up your friend's getting in the car, and then you're both going to do something together. So instead, it's just where you're literally going to pick up your friend gets in the car, you sit in the car together, and you go nowhere and you do nothing. That's kind of the way that sex has, what it's turned into because of porn. So they have, it makes it all about the base physical component by denying the energetic or spiritual component. Whereas sex was supposed to be the conduit of the exchange, they turned it into only the one element. So it's supposed to be the joining of a divine feminine energy and a divine masculine energy and a meeting up of those two energies and a commingling of it. But now there's no energetic commingling. Now it's just, we're getting in the car and we're just sitting there. That's it. So it's stripped of this important component to it. This was done intentionally to corrupt and decay the fabrics of society. So porn can make us feel cheap, and like the way in which we came into this world is nothing more than an animalistic desire instead of a sacred union of two divine souls. Okay? Now what was also shown to me is that porn changes the neural pathways in the brain. And what it does is it conditions the person that is watching porn to seek one dopamine hit after another. So one cheap, quick dopamine hit after another one, instead of a deep and prolonged interaction that can lead to a more gratifying dopamine release. Now, what was also shown to me is that porn made sex casual, and that casual kind of nature led to the introduction of apps like Tinder, which is all about meeting people and hooking up with them. And that led to the normalizing of hookup culture. So hookup culture, for anyone who is not sure what that means, you go on a date, you meet someone on Tinder, you go out one time, you go have sex afterwards. Then you go on your merry way and you may or may not see them ever again. Now, this hookup culture has further led to the decay and destruction of society as people are looking for their next cheap, easy dopamine hit, as they have been conditioned to by the normalcy of porn. So this has also led to unrealistic expectations of a man looking at a woman's body, because they think all women are supposed to have like these insane, unrealistic bodies. And it has also led to a decline in men's sexual virility. In addition to that, hookup culture also means that people are turning into walking zombies. And what I mean by that is, when there is this normalization of hookup culture, without this understanding of spirituality, or that it's not just enough to cleanse your physical body, you need to cleanse your energetic body because you're carrying other people's energy with you. And one of the biggest ways that there is this exchange of the energetic qualities is through sex. So a man is penetrating a woman, he is leaving part of his soul, essence, and energy behind, and he is taking some of hers with him. Energetically cleansing, if you're not energetically cleansing yourself, those energetic tags are sticking to these people. So they're walking around, they're completely mentally and emotionally dysregulated. They are not even having the ability to access their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own emotions. Hence, they are turning into energetic zombies. Let's see if there's anything else. It has also contributed to the rise in depression, as people are being used in a way that they were never meant to be used as. Objects. We use things, we love people. But here, there is a using of people instead of a loving of people. So people are not meant to be used in this way or treated in this way as objects. And the way that it was actually shown to me is that people are being used as tools in sexual gratification and as mutual human masturbation tools. So it's straight up fucking demonic, and it has very much led to a soul and spiritual corruption. That brings me to Andrew Tate. Now, Andrew Tate was shown to me, and he is actually connected to porn, which is why I'm just seamlessly like jumping from one to the other. Andrew Tate was shown to me as being a CIA shell, but an unknowing one, okay? And that he is being used to reinforce this idea of toxic masculinity. Now, how did this all go down? So Andrew Tate's father was in the CIA. Seems kind of convenient. And what happened to him and his brother was actually from a young age, both him and his brother were exposed to overtly sexual content. And then as they got older, that sexual content became extremely violent. So similar to what happened with Jesse Kemperson, okay? Very, very violent content was then being shown to him. So because of this, he developed a very limited view and scope of women as them being sexual objects. So a little compare and contrast. So Jesse Kemperson was drawn to violent sexual content because it gave him this illusion of being superior to women. So that reinforced something that he was actually looking to gain from the experience. Compare that to Andrew Tate, where this was implanted in his mind. He was introduced at a very, very young age, before he was old enough to even understand it, sexual content. And then as he got older, he was only shown violent and abusive sexual content. So that led to the formulation in his mind of a few things. First of all, women are nothing more than a sexual object, number one. Number two, abusing a woman is perfectly normal. And number three, it also led to this understanding in his mind, or this belief in his mind, that because he was exposed to violence and he was, people were always okay afterwards, or they even enjoyed it, that led to him having this dystopian view of women, relationships, and violence. They all go hand in hand because of what he was exposed to intentionally as a child, okay? So this led him to believe that men were superior to women because of the sexual domination in the porn that he was exposed to, okay? There is no softness to Andrew. It's all hard edges. And this is demonstrating, he's actually deep down inside very, very angry. And this anger is released, like his pressure relief valve is actually through the career that he had in the MMA. So MMA, if anyone's not familiar with it, I forgot what it stands for, but it's basically, it's not like WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. That's where it's all staged. It's scripted, they practice, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna throw this punch, you're gonna deflect it, whatever it is. MMA is where two guys go into a ring, they just fucking beat the living shit out of each other. It's like no holds bar. So this was his pressure relief valve for the way that he was feeling internally inside. And the way that he was actually feeling inside, so he's a confused kid. It was shown to me that he is confused. His inner child is honestly scared. He doesn't understand what he saw. He feels trapped inside the angry body of an adult male who seems to operate on autopilot. And as soon as this came in energetically, autopilot, that made me believe that in addition to the overt sexualization of his senses at a very young age, I actually believe that he was also subjected to mind control and perhaps MK Ultra. Okay? He longs to break out, break free, and live intentionally. So he's basically a product of his intentional upbringing, which was very, very destructive to him. And it was all done with the intent purposes of him unknowingly reinforcing the idea of toxic masculinity. So I hope that answers your question about Andrew Tate. So I'm going to skip a couple of pages because I have OJ, which he's definitely going to get his own video. There was a lot that came in for him. Gabby Petito also going to get her own video. A lot of information came in on her. Delphi Murders also going to get their own video. Okay, the next question was in numerology. And specifically the question is about if someone is a life path 9, does this mean it's their last life? Okay, and this is what came in for numerology. That whatever we think we know about numbers, we are only being given the 3-dimensional understanding of what numbers are. So it's a physical representation of a quantity of something, okay? But what numbers can actually represent is something that's way more complex and scientific than we have been led to understand. And it was shown to me that there is a divinity in mathematical precision, but numbers have been dumbed down to dumb us down as well. So therefore, our understanding of numbers and therefore numerology is incomplete. Because it is incomplete, whatever understanding we think we have about numerology and what it all means is incomplete as well. It was shown to me like seeing the outside of a house, but not seeing the interior. So imagine a friend buys a house, they move onto the same block as you, you're walking your dog, you see their beautiful house, and your friend is inviting you in and telling you, well, we just remodeled the inside. I want to show you the paint and the furniture and the decor. And you're like, I got it. I can see the outside of it. It's incomplete in your understanding. That is what numerology and numbers are to us. Therefore, we cannot be bound to anything we understand about numerology and what it tells us, because it is a fraction of the story. What we know is the 3D representation of numerology, but not the divine and multidimensional nature of it. So I hope that answers your question on numerology. Okay, next I have near-death experiences. And for that, what was shown to me for near-death experiences is that, and for anyone who's not familiar, it's kind of like what it sounds like. It's let's say somebody dies, they flatline, maybe they're in a hospital, they go somewhere, then they come back into their body at some point. And what was shown to me that is a near-death experience is the person is getting a glimpse of another dimension. But it is a dimension wherein our bodies are not necessary. Because yes, there are places in this multidimensional experience that we can have there's no bodies. It's just pure consciousness or it's energy. We don't need the bodies. We don't need to speak because all communication is telepathic. So think of it this way, just like our clothing is like a window dressing to a window, our bodies are the window dressing to our souls. So when somebody has a near-death experience, they are getting to see other dimensions, and they are also getting to have the experience of what it's like to be with God. Pure source energy, the universe, whatever term you would personally use. Because and when I was going through my spiritual awakening, I actually watched a ton of people sharing their experience of what a near-death experience had been like for them. And what struck me at that time was how similar all of their stories were, how similar their tales all lined up in certain specific details, which was the feeling of peace, love, and belonging that they experienced. So they felt connected to everything. They just felt nothing but pure, unconditional love, and they felt like they belonged. So they were actually given a peek of what's beyond the veil. So as you remember, I've kind of talked about what the veil is, and there's so many different veils. There's the veil that we have from our true inner self. There's the veil that we have that's shielding us from God. There's the veil that we have that we cannot see, that we're all actually one and all people are connected. There are so many different levels to what a veil is, but that when people are having these near-death experiences, they are getting to experience what it's like to live without a veil, which I thought was very, very interesting. And that when the people come back, they are stripped of the 3D illusion that they have in what's thinking that everything we see with our three-dimensional senses is real. That all falls away. So they're not impressed with what they can see, touch, taste, smell, hear. They are much more understanding of the connection that they have to God, the connection that they have to all of humanity. And they will forever come back from that experience completely changed. So I hope that has answered your question about near-death experiences. Now, the next question that came in is about sleep paralysis. And specifically, the way that it was phrased was is this a physical kind of experience that somebody's having, or is there a spiritual component to it? It's both, but they're both actually connected to the spiritual component. So let me explain what that means. So sleep paralysis is an out-of-body experience where the soul of the person is taken on a journey of a spiritual nature. So there's your question. It's of a spiritual nature to be shown something or to have some sort of an experience that they can only have when they're sleeping because the resistance is lowered. So, for example, we're completely inundated in our regular lives. We have work, we have families, we have relationships, we have bills, we have, computers in our pockets that are always distracting us. And it can be very, very hard for people to actually connect to the divine because of all of these distractions. Yes, which you can imagine is by design. But the guides are sensing the only way that they can actually get through to a person is when they're sleeping and there is no level of resistance. There's none of these other distractions. So what will actually happen is, it sounds scary, but it's not, and I'm going to explain why. They're kind of put into a energetic hijacking, so that way they can be taken to have some sort of a spiritual experience. In addition to that, the other reason of what's going on physically is that the body is placed into a deep resting mode, so that way there can be done, they can start to heal, they can start to download new DNA, and start to integrate it into their body. They can also heal. So there's a lot of repairs that are going on at this time. So it is completely essential that the body is in a deep resting phase so all of that can go on. Now, if you're coming out of a sleep paralysis and you're feeling actually not deeply rested at all, but you're feeling very, very tired, It's because your body is integrating all of these other things. And imagine, just like, for example, when you're sick, you're also very, very tired. It's because your body is working so hard to fight off whatever's making you sick. This is not where the person is sick, and that's why they're tired. But it's where there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes that is energetically, the body is integrating and leading to the person being tired. So imagine, for example, your computer is going to ask you on occasion to like reboot, so you can, what is it called? You can download new updates for the software, and it has to be rebooted at that time, so it has to be shut down, and then it has to wake back up. That is kind of what's going on with sleep paralysis. So let me know if that answers your question, and let me know down below, and if not, I'll answer it further than that. Okay, here's another one. I kind of feel like I've answered this in other videos, but do our souls have contracts with future spouses, lovers, and or kids? So first and foremost, let me say we all have free will. Free will reigns supreme. But outside of free will, if we're encountering somebody, could they perhaps be somebody that we're going to have a soul contract with? Yes, absolutely. Especially if when you meet somebody, they feel familiar to you. And that is your soul's recognizing the familiarity of their soul because you have shared previous incarnations together with. So if you get into a relationship with somebody, could it be because you have a soul contract with them? Yeah. Could it also just be that you have free will and you chose to get into a relationship with that person? Also, yeah. What makes it different is, was there some big lesson in your experience with this person? If not, then it was probably a free will encounter that you had. But if there was a big lesson that really changed the trajectory of your life and changed you on some deep fundamental level, that is probably evidence of a soul contract that you have had with that person. Now, another thing also to keep in mind is that there's something called soul groups. And what a soul group is imagine through all of the many lifetimes that we have had, we are creating karma with people, and people are creating karma with us. So what will happen is we will come back through multiple lifetimes in different orientations to work through all of our joint and shared karma with one another. So your soul group can comprise of any number of people that in this lifetime could be friends, could be family, could be notable teachers that are in your life, but it's all because we are contracted to kind of come back in these different orientations to work through our joint karma. Now, another question that came up in conjunction to this, which is why is our memory wiped in between all of our incarnations? Because it makes it really, really hard if you think about it. Like, I don't remember what I've done in previous incarnations. How do I know what I'm coming back to make up for, right? Here's why. If you're married to somebody in this incarnation, do you want to know that they were a parent in another incarnation? Probably not. So our memory has to be wiped in between, so that way we are kind of going into our relationships uninhibited. We're also going into them without the baggage of many, many lifetimes that we have shared together. And I kind of gave this example, which is like, imagine clearing the cookies on your computer. Cookies are great because, you know, if you're going to a website over and over again, it will load quicker. But cookies are not so great also because they actually slow down the functionality of your devices. So every once in a while, you want to kind of clear those cookies so that way your device will run at optimum speed. This is the same way. If we as souls are so encumbered with the baggage that we have from all of these lifetimes, we're not going to be operating at full capacity in any particular incarnation that we come into. So that's why all of our memory is wiped in between, so that we can come into it so fresh and so clean, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and ready to just show up unencumbered into that particular incarnation. So I hope that answers your question. If not, please comment down below. I have a few more that I want to try to get through to keep this video from going to be too long. Okay, let's jump into what is going on behind the veil with the Russia and Ukraine war. I'm not going to get into the political aspect of it. This is just to discuss what was shown to me behind the veil, okay? So this was shown to me as two brothers who in previous incarnations were always competing with one another, fighting with one another, and there was tons of sibling rivalry. So they're given an option to come back for one last hurrah. So imagine in all those previous incarnations, their mom was like, stop it, you two, stop fighting. I just took you to the fucking playground. Can you not fight for 5 fucking minutes? And the mom's like, okay, fine. It's happening right here. It's happening on the grass. This is your one opportunity to fucking fight it out so we can go home and we can move on with our lives. But because this is the last incarnation that these people are coming back to work through this particular karma, it was shown to me that it's going to come with certain conditions. What are those conditions? So this is no longer two brothers fighting in the den, away from prying guys. It's like, if you guys really want to get into it, you're fucking getting into it. So this is a professional wrestling match happening in the gymnasium of the town that they live in, where all of their friends and all of their families are all there to observe it, and where it's also going to be televised. You really want to get into this fucking fight? These are the conditions. And the metaphor of this being done in the gymnasium in front of all of their friends and family is to represent the fact that this is now not just happening between the two brothers themselves, but it's where they have to take into account the citizens of their respective countries, the cabinet members, the involvement of other countries that are coming into it. So it's like, here are the conditions of it. Do you two still want to get into it? Or are you ready to fucking let it go, pack it up, and we can all go on our merry way? So that was what it was shown to me behind the veil for the Russia and Ukraine war. I hope that answers your question. I don't think we're going to have time for this next topic, which is Robert Wagner and Natalie Woods. We'll see. I'll jump ahead, and if we have time, I'll come back to it. Okay? Also, Larry and Maya Millette, I don't think we're going to have time. They will also probably get their own video. Okay. Next question that had come in is Paul McCartney. So apparently there is a pre-1968 version of Paul McCartney and a post-1968 Paul McCartney, and they're different. So this is what was shown to me for Paul McCartney. That he was involved in a horrific car accident in the English countryside. So I can pick up on his energy on this side, but as I have kind of shared in other videos, the way energy can come through is the difference between a candle and a torch. So the expression, the light that a torch will emit is much brighter and fuller than a candle. A candle is still the same core expression, it's just much more muted and demure. So I can pick up on his energy on this side, but it's not quite so full and robust. So my interpretation of that is that I do believe he's on life support, or he's in some sort of a coma, but he is a very, very viable earner. And due to that, he has been kept alive with a stand-in in his place. So as I've also shared in some of my other videos, I think it was maybe the one on clones, but if someone's a really viable earner, then they can continue to make money on them. And what they'll sometimes do is they'll actually create a clone of that person. So if somebody is just too much trouble and they have to be put down, or if somebody dies or something like that, they will create a clone of that person, which will have some of the energetic, what's the way of putting it? Some of the energetic functionality of that person. So they can continue to create music or whatever it is that they're doing and can continue to generate money because of it. So he is very much considered to be a viable earner. So his image is kept alive, but it's actually a stand-in in his place. Okay? So I hope that answers your question on Paul McCartney. Next, we're going to move on to Tony Robbins and Joel Osteen. And then we just have a couple more things to try to get through. So, interestingly enough, for Tony Robbins, what was shown to me was that he has had many, many, many lifetimes in which he was a thief, a liar, and a scoundrel. He was not a murderer. He was not a killer. It was just like a lot of nonsense, but a lot of thievery. And he was given a choice in this incarnation to come back and to rectify all of those previous incarnations in which he had been a scoundrel. But he was given a choice. If you're coming back, it's your soul's mission in this life not to harm people, but to help people. And he made a choice because, yes, free will reigns supreme always. He made the choice that that is what his soul was going to do. It was going to ascend in this particular incarnation. So he chose to take a different path and to help people instead of harm them. So his soul learned through that experience that one does not actually have to resort to thievery to make money. Because in this previous incarnation as Tony Robbins, he has amassed a very, very large fortune. And it was all done, honestly, through the pursuit of helping, not harming. Now, so on a soul level, he has actually wiped the slate clean for all of those previous incarnations. And he did it because he has helped more people than he has harmed. And he has also rectified all of those previous energy tags. Because if you think about it, he holds these enormous get-togethers, thousands upon thousands of people in an auditorium. He has CDs that are out there. He has a YouTube channel. So he is disseminating the information very, very willingly and openly. And that has facilitated him in helping many, many more people and wiping the slate clean. And he also gives a lot of money to charity. So all those previous incarnations are clean for him. And it was done in his soul's evolution in helping, not harming. Okay, so I hope that answers. Oh, and hold on before we get to that. Joel Osteen. What was shown to me for Joel Osteen is there's no one there. It's like the lights are on, but no one's home. And that he is a straw man. There's no substance behind him. So a straw man is like a representation of something. And when I saw him as a straw man, the first thought that came to me was, because as I've shared, sometimes the information can come in like metaphorical, a feeling, a picture, a movie scene, anything that's going to allow my mind to make logical sense of it. So showing him to me as a straw man made me and right away think he must be like mind controlled or MK Ultra or something like that. But very, very much the lights are on, but no one is home with him. So I hope that answers your question about these two guys. Okay. Quickly, Kim Cattrall and Sarah Jessica Parker. So these two, it was shown to me, so Kim Cattrall has some spice to her, some sauce and some spice. And whereas the other members on Sex and the City were content to be the supporting cast that they were meant to be, and to let Sarah Jessica Parker really shine and be the star, Kim was, and what came in, she was onto her. She had her number. So there was something about Sarah Jessica Parker that really rubbed Kim Cattrall the wrong way. And because she was saucy and spicy, she pushed back. So this is very much a situation of just two people who rub each other the wrong way. So I hope that answers your question. I'm going to quickly get into Oprah because I thought that this was interesting. But I'm also going to say there's a caveat to Oprah, which is Oprah didn't show me everything. She only showed me what she wanted me to see. And I'll share with you what it is, but if you're looking to get like a complete understanding of like what she's done, that was withheld because it's her showing me the energy, okay? It's still worth watching if you're curious and interested. Now, Oprah, so first of all, she would absolutely not show me her childhood. it was shown to me as being extremely well hidden and preserved away from prying eyes. So the way that it was actually shown to me is, imagine a fortified safe, very, very thick walls, and was considered to be unbreakable. And in addition to it being unbreakable, it was taken to the deepest point of the sea and it was sunk. Now, her childhood being shown to me this way brought up one of three possibilities. And I'll share with you what they all are. And you can comment down below actually which one you think it is. But the first one was that everything that we think we know about her childhood that's been reported is true. And it's true, and it's so deeply painful for her that she does not want to confront it or think about it. Therefore, she herself has put her childhood into the safe and sunk it, so she doesn't have to deal with it and confront it. The second option is that it's all a fabrication, and the truth, so everything we think and we know about her childhood is a fabrication, and the truth, they don't want anyone discovering it, so the truth has actually been put in the safe and sunk in the bottom of the sea. So no one can actually establish and ascertain what is the truth of her orientation, of her, not orientation, her origins. We don't actually know what the truth of her origins is. That's option 2. Option 3 is that she has had so much mind control and MK Ultra done to her that the real truth is hidden away from her, and that she can't access it as if it is in a fortified safe sunk to the bottom of the sea. So those are the three options. A, it's true, it's so painful, she doesn't want to deal with it or confront it, she sunk it. 2, what we think we know is a complete fabrication. The truth is sunk to the bottom of the sea. We will never know the actual origins. 3, there's so much fucking MK Ultra done to her, she herself doesn't even know what the truth is. It's as if it was sunk to the bottom of the sea, okay? But what was shown to me was that Oprah was a, I'm gonna kind of say this in a nicer kind of way. She was the kind of woman that would entertain men professionally and for money. But she was not doing it this way because she had any self-worth issues. She had healthy self-esteem. This was more her perception of the societal limitations that would be placed on her. So she was resourceful. She did what she had to get by. She had a regular. The regular actually recognized in her a ruthlessness that he recognized within himself. And he actually said to her, he had a way in which he could make a lot more money. And the phrase that came in, she was off to the races and she never looked back. Full steam ahead, whatever it was, whatever the ramifications, whatever was asked of her, she was going to do it. She was a bit of an opportunist, okay? Now, the way that she showed, her energy actually showed itself to me at this point was with righteous indignation and a feeling that she herself believes that she didn't do anything that anyone else wouldn't do. And she genuinely believes that. She's also really proud of how much money she has brought them. And what she showed me energetically was that the amount of money that she has actually amassed in this lifetime is a reflection of the amount of money that she has brought into them. So look at it this way. It's the difference between being a salaried worker and being a worker who works on commission. So a salaried worker, no matter how productive you are, no matter how much you contribute to the success of the business that you work for, you get the same basic pay no matter what. But somebody that works on commission, they will earn a percentage of the money that they bring in for the organization, for that company. So somebody that works on commission has the potential to earn a lot more money than a salaried employee, but they also have to hustle and they have to work a lot harder because the amount that you earn is directly tied to the amount of success that you bring into that company. And that is what happened with Oprah in this case. Whatever amount of money that she has amassed, multiply it by I can't even imagine what amount, That is how much money she brought in for the cabal. Again, she did not want to show me what it is that she was involved in because she is a bit of a ends justify the means kind of a person. Why look over there? Why talk about that? That's what had to happen for me to have the kind of life that I'm having right now. And she is very much proud of the success that she has amassed and that it's connected to how successful she was able to make them. So she felt useful, she felt valuable, and she felt purposeful in the work that she has done. So no regret, no remorse, the ends justify the means. And to her, it seems like a small price that she had to pay. Interesting though, but despite that, she's not sure if she would do it again. And here's why. Even though she's Oprah fucking Winfrey, and we're thinking she's so fucking successful, like, for her, even for her, she has put people on a pedestal. And in her putting people on a pedestal, but seeing behind the veil of these very famous, powerful, and influential people that she put on a pedestal was really tough for her. So because of that, because it kind of shattered the illusion that she has had about people, she is not sure if she would actually do it again. So seeing these people that she put on a pedestal knocked down was really taxing on her. And I'm also going to say, this is where this idea of behind the veil really comes in handy, because here's the thing. You might be thinking, who does she know that's famous, powerful, and influential? Why haven't I seen anything happening to them on the public stage? Here's why. At this point, we're not meant to see it. So there is, yes, a lot going on behind the scenes that we are not able to see, but that she has seen, that she does know. She's in the same boat. So seeing all of that chaos and destruction of these formerly powerful people come down has been really, really hard on her. And one other interesting thing came in for Oprah, which was apparently Joan Rivers gave her a piece of advice or had said something to her. And what Oprah had said is that Joan Rivers was right about what she said to her. But she wouldn't tell me what it was about, other than to acknowledge that what Joan Rivers had said, she was right about. So I don't know if anybody is familiar with maybe something that's happened on the public stage that we all know about. Maybe it was a private conversation between the two of them, but Joan Rivers was right, okay? And the last thing that I actually want to get to, do I have time to talk about, they're going to be their own video. Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood, do we have time? All right, let's make it really, really quick, okay? And then I'm going to talk about one other thing, okay? So Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood, what was shown to me is that this was an arranged marriage between the two of them. Robert Wagner was bisexual. I think he's still alive. He is bisexual. And this was at a time where even if it was acceptable behind closed doors, it was not acceptable openly. So this was an arranged marriage between the two of them. However, they were not a good energetic fit for one another. And here's why. Even though Natalie understood that this was an arranged marriage between the two of them, she wanted it to be some sort of a relationship. She had deep, gaping holes in her energetic blueprint. She was like the puppy that got kicked, and no matter how many times the owner would kick her, she would just go back and try to lick his hand and his face, and then he would push her out of the way again. That is what Natalie was like energetically. She was looking for love in all the wrong places. I'm not laughing because it's funny, I'm sorry. I guess I sometimes laugh when things are, hard to talk about. Okay, so she was looking for love in all the wrong places, including, which sounds weird, with her husband. They were married, he was her husband, it was an arrangement. He very much looked at it as it was, which was an arrangement. She did not. So he was really disinterested. And what was shown to me was that all of the arguments that they had a very contemptuous kind of relationship. it all centered around her wanting more and Robert's disinterest. Okay, so he wanted to be veiled publicly in having this marriage so that he could pursue other people and other things, and not have that be known publicly. And specifically with things of the same sex that he is, okay? So he would have been much more suited to be with somebody that also wanted to have space and wanted to do their own things, and that this was also going to be a front for them. They were horribly unsuitable for one another on an energetic level, okay? Very, very mismatched. So yeah, he really needed to be with somebody that was going to be more independent and allow him to be his independent self. Now, what happened on the night that she passed? Was there some foul play involved, right? So first of all, she had a drinking problem. Really convenient cover. He knows what happened. He was not directly involved. He did not want to be directly involved because that would weigh on his consciousness. He views himself as not being somebody that's a monster. He would not want to be involved with it. He didn't really want to know about it, but did he really know that something went down? Yeah, he really knew what went down. But he didn't want to know because it would weigh on his conscience, okay? But he absolutely knew what happened, but he wanted to be able to say that he wasn't involved and mean it. So that's why all of the investigations looking into him to see if he was actually involved have been fruitless, because he really didn't know what went on. But she had a drinking problem, and at that point that was very easy to use as a cover. So did something nefarious go down? You can determine that based on what I just shared with you, okay? But was he involved? No. Okay, last thing that I want to answer, which I thought was kind of a cute question. Somebody wanted to know how he came to have the name Soularflow, and why is the profile picture of a person looking up into the night sky and looking up at the Aurora Borealis. So this is why I chose the name Soularflow, for anyone who's ever been curious or interested in it. So Soularflow, I don't know why I'm looking down at my notes because I should know this, right? I do know this. Soularflow came from the recognition I have that we are, each and every person that's alive is connected to the universe. And when we are energetically and aligned with it, we can flow with it. So solar, first of all, if you think about solar, that's it's a connection to the sun, right? Solar, but it's spelled not S-O-L-A-R, which is referencing the sun. It's spelled soul, S-O-U-L-A-R. So it's our soul connecting to the sun, connecting to the cosmos. Flow, because once we connect to it and we acknowledge it, we can all just flow with it. All of our energies can flow together. We can all just be in a much better energetic space because of it. Now, why is the profile picture a person standing looking up at the Aurora Borealis? And this is because one of the earliest downloads I had ever received was that Aurora Borealis is actually a rip in dimensions. It's a tear between dimensions. And one could say, I could say, it was the download that came in for me. It's the acknowledgement that there actually is a veil and there's something else on the other side of the veil. And I'm going to actually explain it to you by saying this. Imagine, for example, you don't have to imagine, I'll actually make a hole. So imagine, for example, there's a hole in a piece of paper, okay? And I'm going to give you a visual representation so you won't even have to imagine it. All right, so here's a page. This is my page on Oprah, okay? There's a tear in the page, right? So you can kind of see through the other side of the paper, right? You can acknowledge there's something on the other side. And what's on the other side is if you move it just so, maybe I have to make the tear a little bigger. If you move it just so, you can actually see through the page and you can see onto the other side of the page. What's on the page behind it? So it's revealing what is not veiled any longer. I know that there's actually scientific explanations for why we have the Aurora Borealis. I get all of that. This is a behind the veil metaphysical station. So what Aurora Borealis was shown to me that has made such a profound impact on me was my first introduction to behind the veil. It's the acknowledgement of what's behind the veil. It's the acknowledgement of the veil. So me putting that picture of somebody standing there looking up at Aurora Borealis it's first of all man contemplating his place within the universe, within the cosmos. And it's him looking up at the Aurora Borealis and wondering, what is that and what's behind that? What is the real, true explanation of what is going on behind the veil? And that is everything that we explore on this station. So, as always, guys, thank you for being here. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I hope that you have found it to be interesting, informative, thought-provoking. Take what resonates, leave the rest behind. And as always, until next time, stay in the high vibration.